Okay, John Kennedy will lead Celtic this weekend after Neil Lennon resigned from the job. So, should we be excited about John Kennedy coming into the role? Should we be happy? Should we be worried? And is he a genuine contender to be the next Celtic manager? As you can see, I'm joined by my two pals for the end of the week. We've got Euan and Pearse on the line, or on the video line, I suppose. Euan, we've not heard your views on the channel yet with regards to Neil Lennon resigning at Celtic. Just give us your immediate thoughts on that.
I couldn't believe it, honestly. Not because of the actual, content of Lennon not being Celtic manager anymore, but more the timing. I thought there'd been so many disappointing results this season that it was kind of inevitable that Lenny would stay on until the summer. But either I get the impression he's been nudged by the board to resign, as opposed to a mutual consent or an outright sacking. So yeah, I'm surprised, but I can't say I'm terribly unhappy about it either.
Pearse, what's your reaction? How are you feeling about the news?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when it happened. I was like, people were saying, obviously, Sunsport exclusive. And I was just like, I believe it when I believe it. And yeah, so I wasn't really shocked that it happened. But at the end of the day, like, this season has been kind of one long roller coaster. You just don't know what's going to happen or not.
In terms of John Kennedy, there's been a bit of chat about how we should feel about the fact he's been, put into that major role as Celtic manager, even if it is just interim manager. He has been at the club for a long time, Euan, and reading some of the comments made by people who have worked with him and since left the club, he does have a pretty decent reputation. I'm talking with the likes of Brendan Rodgers and Damien Duff.
Mm-hmm. I've always got a sense with John Kennedy, especially under Neil Lennon, that he was actually really, really insightful and kind of expressionate coach, but he was hamstrung by what Neil Lennon wanted to do. So I get the sense that we'll see a complete tactical revolution over the next few months. I think we'll see play that's more reminiscent of Ronnie Deila when it was good under Ronnie Deila, and obviously the kind of the 4-2-3-1 that was played under Brendan Rodgers. So lots of width, lots of passing, lots of pace and precision, playing out from the back, short balls from the goalie, that kind of thing. I think there's actually reason to be excited about the next couple of months. And honestly, it's the first time I've been excited about a Celtic game in quite a while, probably since the Europa League began, because it could be a completely different Celtic team we're going to see. I think we're going to see more youngsters getting into the team, and it's just going to be really interesting to see what John Kennedy, the manager, is like, because regardless of the long term, and I'm sure we'll get to that, it's kind of just interesting in and of itself. So I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, that game at the weekend suddenly seems a little bit interesting, and we've not felt that way for a long time watching Celtic. I'm interested to see what the team lineup's going to be like, who's going to play in nets, whether Albion Ajeti will come back into the team, whether we'll see any youngsters in the team, as you say, Euan. Rodgers, I think it's fair to say, also wanted to take Kennedy down to Leicester when he left the club a couple of years ago. I believe that Kennedy didn't go mainly because of his affiliation with Celtic, and also the fact that the club had confirmed or guaranteed him the assistant manager's role with the next regime, which was obviously with Neil Lennon. So, I mean, those comments, Pearse, suggest that John Kennedy, is quite liked by people he works with. There's no reason to believe that the Celtic first team squad don't quite like him. So how do you feel about the next few months and the end of the season with John Kennedy in charge?
Yeah, I'm quite excited. He was very highly thought of under the previous managers, and it'll be exciting to see him take the reins as obviously just, I know it's interim charge, but to see kind of formations, obviously it's a fresh start for players, so to see maybe going back to the 4-2-3-1 which Euan touched on, really, I'd like to see more from El Yunusi starting, the reintroduction of James Forrest when he's fit, young players like Karamoko and Okoflex, and obviously if you're going to play strikers, give Ajeti and Griffiths, even Klamala running the team. But yeah, it's exciting to see Celtic, because it's basically a free hit for next season. Just kind of give players game time and maybe reintroduce Barkas if he's ready or not. or if you keep Scott Bain. It's interesting to see because obviously I think there was a disconnect between Kennedy and Lennon, and I just don't think they've seen eye to eye. But because obviously I think Lennon was quite stubborn and set in his ways, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Does anyone want to say that John Kennedy could be a permanent Celtic boss? Euan, do you want to come out and suggest? Because I think that he shouldn't be. I certainly think that he shouldn't be, no matter what his results are. But equally, if John Kennedy wins the last 8 league games, or wins 6 or 7 of them and draws at Ibrox or whatever, he's going to have to be in the reckoning, surely.
Oh, no doubt. It's difficult because on the one hand, as a really loyal, Celtic man, I want John Kennedy to succeed, obviously, and having seen him come through the ranks of the coaching setup, it'd be great if Celtic had their own answer to. I know it sounds a bit silly, but their own answer to Guardiola or to Zidane or to managers who've come through B teams, reserve teams, youth teams, etc., and gone on to find success. There's part of me that really would embrace that, but equally, to sort of revive Celtic's brand, if you will, we do need a big name, or we do need at least an exciting name, someone a little bit left field. We've been making plenty of suggestions in 6-7 Hail Hail, and obviously, your video as well, Hamish. Someone like Xabi Alonso, I thought was an absolutely cracking shout. Just someone a bit more exotic, someone to bring in different ideas at the club would be a good thing. But as I say, I'm in two minds because I think John Kennedy has, on balance, kind of earned the chance. I think he gets a very unfair rep from a lot of Celtic support, but yeah, I'm in two minds. I really am. I know that's completely non-committal and probably not great entertainment value. I'll admit that, but you booked me,
I'd like to see, for instance, Sean Maloney, who I think is probably one of the big coaches in world football with Belgium. I'd love to see him and Martinez, and even keep John Kennedy as a coach on there. But if he does well, then there's no denying that he could be in with the job. That's the thing. But for me, I think it'd be far too early for him just to be thrown into the deep end with a major rebuild in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, even if he was to win those final games, almost like Lennon did a decade ago, I say he would have to be in the reckoning, but I don't think I would still be in favour of getting John Kennedy. And I feel this has to be a fresh start for Celtic. We've got to try and get someone who hasn't been at the club for the last few years, who comes in alongside a new director of football and alongside their new coaching staff as well. Because we're going to have a new chief executive. We're going to have probably a dozen new players coming into the club in the summer, with the same number probably leaving. So I think it does need to be a clean start for Celtic, but you just know for a fact the way the media works in this country. And I'm not necessarily saying the media will dictate who Celtic appoint, but the media will dictate the conversation. And you know for a fact that, is Kennedy going to get the job? Chat is going to be drummed up if he continues to win games. And just knowing Celtic's history with this kind of thing, Euan, it does give you the fear. I don't know if other clubs are like this as well, but you always just fear that Celtic will take the cheap option with this one, and Kennedy would obviously be the cheap option. So if he was to go and win 6 or 7 games between now and the end of the season, and the media are, drumming up the whole, could he get the job? They're asking him every press conference, have you spoken to Law? Have you spoken to Don Mackay yet? Then you've always going to have the fear that Celtic could do that. Or am I just being silly? You're allowed to say yes.
Well, no, I would never call you silly, Hamish. No. No, I think the key thing is the Glasgow Derby, as we now have to call it. I think, if John Kennedy leads Celtic to a victory over the other lot, then I think we're really in, Kennedy getting the job long-term kind of territory. I think if we lose that, and even if it's a spirited performance, then I don't see John Kennedy getting the job long term. I think that game, those games, will be absolutely vital in determining who the next manager Celtic's going to be. Because if John Kennedy can, if Celtic can beat Rangers convincingly, then the media's, as you say, the media's going to go into absolute overdrive with the John Kennedy chat. And in fairness, there won't be much against the argument that he would have earned it. So, yeah, I think meetings with Rangers are crucial to how John Kennedy shapes up as a Celtic boss, interim Celtic boss.
And Pearse, could this be almost viewed as a job opportunity an interview almost for John Kennedy, and not necessarily for the Celtic job, because he's been linked with Hibs in the past. Linked with Hibs, I think just what was it, about a year ago when Jack Ross went in there. He's clearly got designs to be a manager. I mean, he doesn't want to be a number two all his career, and he has been up until this point. So you could almost view as an opportunity for him to get a job, because say if he was to have a good last couple of months of the season with Celtic, he doesn't necessarily get the Celtic job. In fact, he probably doesn't. But the next time a job comes up at an Aberdeen, who are struggling at the moment, a Hibs, a Hearts, maybe even a slightly lower team like that, like a Dundee United or someone, then John Kennedy's suddenly in the running. So could he view these last couple of months of the season as a chance to show what he can do as a manager?
I certainly think so, yeah. He served his time as assistant and just a coach at Celtic for many years, because he retired early and worked on the Dial and Rogers and now Lennon. So this can showcase to the world, either to Celtic or to other clubs, that he is ready to go out on his own. Because if he showcases his ability, that his tactical nuance and stuff like that, and if you can get the results, but the most important, like Euan said, that we can't go through a full season not beating Rangers in the league. That just can't happen. And if he wins that, then obviously he'll probably hail him as the next Messiah.
Well, I'm going for the young boys manager, Gerardo, and I've been given an indication of how to pronounce his surname by Autumn Glow. So thanks very much, Autumn, for getting in touch. I completely butchered it yesterday. Apparently, I don't know what I was going for, but it's Gerardo Euan. And hopefully I've done that. I'm not quite sure if it's Z or Z, but I'm sure you'll give me a thumbs up anyway. Guys, it's been a pleasure once again. We'll reconvene at some stage pretty soon. There's loads more to chat about, obviously, with Celtic. We're going to have an exciting few months debating who could be the new manager, who could be the new director of football, what Dominic Mackay is going to do when he comes into the club. Thanks everyone for watching this video. Remember that if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do that now. We're closing in on 11,000 now, so if you've not yet subscribed and you could do that, that would be a big help. Speak to you soon.